So let's uncover Colorado lies. And I want you guys to understand I know exactly what I stepped into and who I probably stepped against. And so when you really think about who I'm up against and what's going on, you're gonna realize that there's a big players involved in this. And so let's do the Colorado history. Let's uncover Colorado history. So through these, I highlighted some things to point out, and here's one of them. I want you guys. This is the Pikes Peak area. I guess this is the two prospectors. I can't remember what his name was. Went through to scope out. This is Pikes Peak. So what I'm trying to tell you is, until they got a railroad, they weren't doing anything. I mean, absolutely nothing, really. I mean, could you imagine even trying to build a road through this so a wagon can actually go? And you're talking miles and miles at a time when all you had is a pick and a shovel. Yeah, and when you really start putting time together, you're going to understand that they've lied to us about time in history. Okay, this is very interesting. This history of Denver. This is very important. This one, this one goes through and explains everything. So I highlighted this, and we'll read through it just because I need to get this done. I've been putting this reading off for a while, but hopefully it'll shed some light into this and give you guys more awareness. Okay, so however, the closest major trading routes, the Oregon and Santa Fe trails, were not within 100 miles of the Denver area. Until a permanent trading route was established, the locals had to make do with what little extra the new immigrations brought with them. Okay, so think about what they're telling you. They're saying whatever the new immigrations brought with them. That's so they basically were depending on whatever crap the new people bought so they can barter and so forth. And that would make sense. So let's actually look at this real quick. Let's see what we're talking about here, and I'm going to show you the trickery in history. So, the United States, and we're going to go into Colorado, and we're going to go into Alicine School. I'm like to call this school Alice in Wonderland now. But this is the school that I'm going to show you guys with history. What's left of it right now is basically, let's show you what's left of it. Drop this guy down so you can see it. Okay, this is what's left of the place. Okay, and then this right here. I know people want to put this as a religious artifact or whatever, but I don't believe so. I believe this is part of the lighting system that they had. And when I get to probably talk to people that know a little bit on this, I'm pretty sure I understand our electrical history and how it all came to with lighting towers and so forth. And so that's what I wanted to point out here. And so we'll exit out of this just so you guys can see this. Okay, the closest town would be Denver or Golden, and you would have to go all the way through here to hit here. And so, unless Golden was, and I had to make this drive all the way up to Blackhawk, and that's kind of why I was like, oh yeah, I guess people are chosen for what they have to offer, and God will pick and choose who He needs to when He needs to. And so, like I said, it was a coincidence in all of this. And Blackhawk, I had to go up and build a casino. So I know what it's like driving that road in the wintertime and actually working in the mountains in the wintertime. And I could tell you right now, it at the turn of the century, it would have been slow progress because you'd only had, honestly, probably 6, 7 months to really do anything without having to deal with major snow or freezing temperatures or rain in order to actually be able to do construction well. Because that's the thing you have to understand. If they're mixing up cement and stuff, they can't mix it back then below zero because it would have just froze. And that's why we came out with concrete blankets, so forth. But then when I started looking at history, I could tell you right now, our history's definitely been altered. So let's really get an understanding of this. We'll go north so you guys. Okay, so going into Blackhawk right here. And then there's another, the school is very important, and then there's some stuff in Blackhawk. And then this would be the school that I pointed out last time. Okay, so now that I've covered that, and that's why I'm like, I don't want to rehash too much on that because it's so much information, but I don't know what to cover to make sure you guys are all understanding. Because if you only watch this video, you're not going to catch what I said in the other videos because there's so much to explain. I mean, I could sit here for an hour just going over through this alone and really reading through this and listening to what they're saying. So, Aurora and Denver began to be completed for business that could cater to the new immigrants and for the domination of a new era. Okay, so I'm also telling you there's been a couple of resets on this, and you guys will start to see it once you put this together. Okay, so and then a lot of people are like, well, how could I have gotten fooled? Well, let me tell you, when you start going through this, on April 1863, a fire broke out in downtown Denver, and then I believe another one broke out. So they had two fires, and same with Central City, same with Salida, and that's the other thing is the name changing on some of these. But I'm also going to tell you, well, nobody's like, well, how could they have done this? Well, the corruption was so bad, even in the late 1890s, that they had what they called the progressive era, and it was to eliminate all of the so basically, here, crime and corruption brought the others who wanted to combat it. Women's suffrage came early in 1893, led by married middle class women who organized the first for prohibition and then for suffrage with the goal of upholding Republican citizenship for women and purify society. The society gospel was the religion wing of the progressive movement. And so that's what I'm going to also try to tell you is that these guys have sent people in to like jack this stuff and then start turning it into these crazy factions. And that's with people, and it's easy to do. But when you understand what they've done and how they were able to monopolize and do like a John Galt thing. So the first rail, let me see if I have it. Okay, so putting this together as a whole, this is why it's so important that nobody has comprehended with all of the wars, pestilence, traveling, and so forth. And then this one, this will be a huge one for you. The first rail comes out of the plant in 1882, and this is CF&I. And this is what the plant was supposedly made for, was just to build rail. But then you go through history and you find out that, every piece of steel that came east of the Mississippi came out of the CF&I, and then that's the other one. CF&I went through so many name changes and organizations and reorg, and yeah, I'm telling you, when you figure this out, you're going to be like, holy cow, what the? You could see easily how America got broken. All right, so let's go back, and I'm going to show you these pictures because that's how important this is to show you guys the craziness. So I showed you where the carcass of this is nowadays in Central City. So let's go through some of the photographs on this. Okay, so I pointed out this school. It was either a Covenant for Girls or it was a Alice in Wonderland place because I'm going to tell you right now, when I showed you guys the difference between these light towers is different than the original one. Okay, so we're going to show the differences between the two towers. And I'm almost wondering if this really was a light tower. And the reason being is you could tell that they changed the architect on it completely. And they covered up what would be the windows and everything on this. And then they even did the awning on it. And you can see the clocks that they possibly had in there. Here's another picture of it. You could see that piece on top. Now, the one thing between this and the one that was placed in the ground over in Salida, or the carcass was, not in Salida, but in Central City, it was a different style of cross too. And that's the other thing. And then this one doesn't really show a cross in it. It just shows, like there's nothing up there. So I don't know. Like I said, deception, if they blanketed this out, and see, that's the other reason why they lighten and darken these photos is to hide history. And yeah, once you figure it out, you guys are gonna freak the flip out because you're gonna realize what I'm telling you is true. Because there's no way you could build in the time frame, and I'm gonna prove it with all of it: trees, history, photographs. So now that we got an understanding of this school, and we also know that it was built somewhere around 1870s, 1880, and I'm going to show you where buildings where they actually have number system on buildings. You know how they would say this building was built in 1902 or this one was built in such and such year. Well, let me show you a picture from Salida, Colorado, or not Salida, but Central City. Sorry, I've been working on so many of these, trying to keep all of it organized and to keep you guys where you guys can look into this and see what I'm telling you, because once you figure it out, it's going to be like wildfire running across this earth. Because people are going to understand what I'm trying to tell them and show them physical proof through historical archives are from our institutions, our so trusted, beloved institutions. Okay, like I said, the other thing that's really puzzling about this is the law and order and the violence that they had in basically the 1880s. And then the same thing, like I said, most of the buildings were destroyed in Central City. The town was rebuilt, this time of brick and stone. Most of these buildings are still standing today. And then you go on. I couldn't find exactly when they got the train, because it's kind of like I don't know, there's no real pin date on it. So, and then the other one, another fire. And so once you understand that this is how they control history and the narrative, yeah, you're going to really be shocked at all of this. So I'll continue with the next video, and we'll go through the pictures themselves and cover just the time variance. But like I said, this is so much to cover. I mean, I can't do this in one 20-minute video. I really couldn't. It'd be just picture, and just information like no other. But see, that's the other thing, is you have to break down this information. All of this is available to anyone that wants to look at it. I've highlighted the things that are important, you know, especially with this one. I want to go over this when they went through the railroad. They went through bankruptcies and everything else, and then it was weird, the time frame. I have to remember if I remember this right, but they started building the railroad out of Central City before the train even got there. So how are they getting train tracks all the way up into the mountains? And let me show you some pictures of construction and moving stuff. So let me let's have a reality on the last part of this video, okay? So this right here, this is how you'd have been moving lumber. I'm sure you would have only took half of this if you were going through the Rocky Mountains. And I've been up through Blackhawk, and I could tell you without roads, that'd be a pretty hard drive to do on a wagon alone. Plus, there's no way you'd make it. You'd have to have a trail. So let's look at another one. This one is my, let me see where it's at. This one with the boiler. Pulling this up into Central City. And then remember said after the fires when they got the block. And is when they started doing it. So my question is where were they getting the block from? They had to have a brick plant. There's no mention of a brick plant in Central City. So that means they were shipping the block up through the railroad, because I'm pretty sure you couldn't take that up with horses. I mean, even if it is a day, you could push it in a day to get it done. But, or take that trip in a day. But even then, trying to move materials up on a wagon, yeah, when I seen this, so basically we have a max of 30 years to 40 years of total time by all these photographs and everything to show the absolute craziness that history has gone by so much longer than what they've told us. So I'll leave this video at that.